Welcome to Home Sweet Home.
First down, save!
A New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Caesars New Orleans.
Hakeem drops the ball! Hakeem drops the ball! Brian Milne might have fallen on it at the 10-yard line!
You gotta be kidding me!
It is the New Orleans Saints football! There is a God after all!
Join us as we celebrate 50 years of cheers, tears, and celebrations we'll never forget on our home turf.
Look out, right through! A kick block by Steve Gleason. It is scooped and scored by Curtis DeLoach. Touchdown, New Orleans!
Hear from the players that made those unforgettable moments and those who were there to tell the story.
Snap, placement, kick by Hartley, and it is done! It's good! It's good! Pigs have flown! Hell is frozen over! The Saints are on their way to the Super Bowl!
Taking us on this half-century journey are your hosts, John DeShazier and Gus Kattengo.
The Saints win!
Welcome to Home Sweet Home, a New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Caesars New Orleans. John DeShazier, NewOrleansSaints.com, Gus Kattengill with you as we continue to go over 10 of the greatest games, John, in the Caesars Superdome as the New Orleans Saints celebrate 50 years of calling it home.
You know, the good thing about it is, several of these games I attended, and maybe not as much as the players and the participants, but I get goosebumps when we think about it because, these are some of the historic games, and these are some of the games that you remember, in Saints history, some of the pivotal games, some of the huge games, some of the games that gave this team the national profile that it had for a 15, 20, 25-year span, that everybody looked at the Superdome and said, you know what? I don't really want to go play there if I'm an opponent because you can't hear yourself. This team plays probably, it seems, 25, 30% better at home. Mm-hmm. And where the Dome was one of those places where you talk about a home field advantage, it was a superior home field advantage, as good as any in any sport on the face of the earth.
Yeah, you want to talk about the mother of all transformations, the mother of all goosebumps, man. January 24, 2010, Saints Vikings NFC Championship game, from paper bags in that same building to the opposing team having to wear purple earplugs. I remember that being one of the key things that the broadcast kept showing. Brett Favre and the rest of the Vikings wearing purple, color-coded, of course, with their purple and white earplugs to prevent the noise from affecting them. But that's as good as an example as you can think of, right?
Yeah,
there.
I mean, when you get on the road and you're an opponent and you've got to use silent counts and you got to resort to earplugs and you got to go to hand signals, those are things that I say that play into the hands of the opposing team or the home team, because defensively you can kind of guess some things because they, the snap count. I understand it's a silent snap count, but you see those guys. There's only so many things you can check into as an offense when you can't hear. So you really got to be on it as an offense. And the defense, I think it gives them an advantage of saying, you know what, okay, we can time this snap count because they can't, go to a whole lot of different things. They can't really get out of this play. They've got to stay with it because they can't hear, and you can go.
Well, let's get to it, sir, because to me, out of the 10, this is number 2. And to me, it's no debate. It could shoot for number 1. But it's what you've always wanted as a local, and I know you've covered a team here as well. We call you a local now, sir, but it's for the shot to go to the Super Bowl. It's what you dream of as a player. It's what, as a fan, you want your home, your place, to be able to see it. And 2 plays to me in that game stand out about maybe 5 minutes of game time apart as the 2 biggest plays to that point in the biggest game to that point in franchise history. You will always remember when these 2 plays took place.
Favre sprints to his right, throws back across the middle, and he's intercepted. Porter. The return by Porter, and he's brought down with 7 seconds left. Here comes the moment Garrett Hartley has always dreamed of. Saints to the Super Bowl.
So it is 2025. A couple of years after that, I just got goosebumps just listening to it. I will never forget those two plays. They're the most. You write for a living. You put words to moments for a living. Could you remotely even think at that moment the words to describe what Favre and the pick and the words of, we talked about it, but there it is as it's sailing through the uprights. The feet beneath you are shaking because the dome's rocking. And you're like, we're going to the Super Bowl. I mean, like, what was it like for you just to go in there? Because we got a treat for you guys. Tracy Porter, Garrett Hartley, going to join us here on this podcast to talk about those two moments.
Well, crazy thing is, I worked for the newspaper then. I was a columnist, and I'm sure I didn't have the proper words then, and because I don't have them now. Even after years of reflection, some things are just bigger than words. And that game and those plays were bigger than words because the magnitude of what it was. I mean, Tracy Porter makes an interception that keeps the Saints from losing that game, essentially. You know, Minnesota's a chip shot away. He keeps the Saints from losing that game. And then that sets up Garrett Hartley winning the game. You know, back then, you know, the overtime rules are different. So team that gets it
that
first.
game changed the overtime rules because of that.
Yeah, team that gets the ball, if you score first, whatever it is, you win. And the Saints got in field goal position, not a chip shot, a 40-yarder, but the walk-off by Garrett Hartley. So, I mean, it's one of those things where even now it's difficult to put it in perspective of what it meant at that time because you're talking about, you know, when you talk about long-suffering, that was this franchise. It was a long-suffering franchise. And I understand the fortunes that changed somewhat, but changing somewhat and going to the Super Bowl is two different things. You can change somewhat and go from a team that's not winning and be put out of the wild card for 3 straight years, and still, I think that's a successful run. But you're talking about, as you mentioned, a franchise where fans had bags on their heads to going to a moment where you got a home game to go to the Super Bowl and you win it. That is something that there are no words for.
No doubt. And to put into words what they felt that moment of making those plays and going to Saints lore and history, none other than Mr. Tracy Porter, and then our conversation with Garrett Hartley. Enjoy. All right, we continue to look back at 10 of the greatest games in the Superdome. Hard to believe, 50 years. The New Orleans Saints have called the Superdome, the Caesars Superdome home. John DeShazer, Gus Catton here with you, and a very special Saints legend and newest member of the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame, Mr. Tracy Porter. Sir, it's been a while since I gotten to see you.
Absolutely.
It's good to have you in the office and back in the building, man.
I appreciate you for having me, man. This is a great experience, unbelievable time for me right now, and I couldn't be more thankful.
Does it smell the same? Does it look the same?
Doesn't look the same. Bits and pieces look the same. Look, the buildings are in the same spot, but they may have changed a little bit. But overall, it feels like home. Feels like I'm getting ready for a defensive meeting right now, but I'm retired. So,
well, the good thing about it, you don't have to go out there in that heat, right? Which is actually not that hot today as it has been.
We would disagree. We would disagree.
But what I'm saying is, we've been in hotter, man. I always talk about it.
In Jackson, we've been in hot.
See. We always go back to Jackson. I mean, Millsap's literally. I don't think we'll ever forget that, will we?
I would never forget Millsap. Millsap. I had my rookie year. That was the only time we were in there. My cleats melted on the field. Like, I was in my defensive stance. We were in a team setting, practicing. Good thing it was a running play because when I tried to pick my foot, it was literally stuck. So the bottom of my cleat melted. And, yeah, I would never forget Millsap. No trees, no tree cover, nothing.
Millsap was, and, you know, now I'm saying this as a person who was standing on the sideline, obviously not out there running around. So can imagine.
Still hot.
I mean, it felt, you know, now I hesitate to say it felt like death, but man, it was a special kind of hot.
Man,
it was, and in the lower field, which had that field turf or whatever that
That's
was.
Where my shoes melted.
It was crazy. It was like you can't work on this. And then I remember the stories from the big boys, the offensive linemen, who would lose like 10, 15 pounds of practice.
Absolutely.
And it's like, how you going to rehydrate that back up and then go back out there? Because that's back when two-a-days were two-a-days.
Yeah, absolutely. But on top of that, the defense, and I think Coach Payton, they did this on purpose, though, because they knew what it would do for us. But the defense, those years, we wore black jerseys in that heat.
Yeah.
So we were out there in all black.
Look, man,
You know
it was the most brutal stuff I have ever seen on a football field. It was like, you are pushing the limits of the human condition.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No doubt. I just wanted the main thing out of that entire camp, though. You weren't the one that allowed Kenny Chesney to get past you. Huh? Were you there that day? Okay, that was you. I was making sure. But it was interesting. I start out with that, obviously, because that was almost the very beginning of what eventually led to two of the plays, one in particular in the Dome that obviously you'll never not be remembered for to it. But it kind of starts there, right, in terms of bringing back the Dome and getting back in here in 05 and doing all of that in 06, rather.
Right.
And then building up to the NFC Championship game, Tracy, which is why we have you in here. We're going to talk about that. That's one of the 10 greatest games in the Dome. But it does kind of start there, doesn't it? Almost to the point where all of a sudden that builds to where that Dome that season in 09 became what is the definition of a home court or home field advantage.
For to be honest, for us as a team, it started. For us as a team, it started like in the OTAs, because most teams, most guys, it's quote unquote voluntary, so they don't have pretty much 100% participation. But that year, we were 100% participation in the off-season workout program. Every guy, we were coming there, we were competing against each other. Drew had us organized. Vilma, he had the defense organized. And, like I said, it started there in the OTAs. Then it transitioned to the training camp. Training camp, we brought that same mentality. We had on our mind what our end goal was, and that was to be playing in the Super Bowl. So if it didn't help us reach that goal, then we weren't doing it or we weren't worried about it. We were locked in and focused. Even when some media guys, they would come and interview us and tell us how we feel or what we think, we were like, we're going to the Super Bowl. And we didn't bat an eye because it was just a feeling that we had going into that year that we were going to do something special, and we didn't want to do anything to jeopardize that, so to speak. So that brought us even more so together as players in that locker room as a family.
I'll tell you what, of the 5 to 10 most memorable plays in franchise history, and I would say, maybe Tom Dempsey's kick and, John Gilliam's kickoff return for a touchdown, the first, kickoff in franchise history, and, maybe 2 or 3 others. But you've got 2 of them, probably 2 of the top 10 in franchise history. One of them being that interception in the NFC Championship game, because you get the pick, you prevent the potential game-winning field goal by the Vikings. The team goes to overtime, you win the game,
right?
And now all of a sudden, Tracy Porter is a folk hero. And then you go from a folk hero to like a New Orleans icon, a couple of weeks later in the Super Bowl.
Right.
But the first one in the NFC Championship game, just run us through that one, because time's winding down and people are thinking, man, there might be a chance where this ain't gonna happen for the Saints, and then this happens.
Favre sprints to his right, throws back across the middle, and he's intercepted. Porter.
Yes.
The return by Porter, and he's brought down
That's a lovely
with
sign.
7 seconds left.
The fact that I wish people could see it, the smile on your face, it just brought you back to it.
It made me feel like I was literally there in the Dome.
All right, take us back.
Man, we were in the man-to-man coverage. So Jabari and I were on the same side because, they had their receivers over there. Then they made an audible. Vilma, the smart guy that he is, he checked us into the right defense. And like we said, we knew they only had to scramble maybe 5 or 6 yards to get in the field goal range. But for whatever reason, he tried to throw the ball across his body to Sidney Rice. And our whole thing is tips and overthrows, but the Cardinals saying for a quarterback, never throw across your body. If he throws across his body as a DB, you have to make him pay. And I was in the right place at the right time. I read the whole play or the whole situation out between Favre and Sidney. I saw him looking at him, and I kind of waited a little bit until you release the ball, but I wanted to be close enough so I can make a play on the ball.
Was it all muscle memory? Because that's a chaotic scene. You're talking about 18 seconds left in the game. You're talking about fans probably screaming because the offense has the ball. They scream when the defense is on the field. They don't give you guys a break.
Right.
And now you're talking about John Vilma having the presence to check into the right play. You guys being able to hear the play and execute the play under those circumstances. How much of that is muscle memory and how much of that is just the call and everything that goes into it?
Well, you have to have someone that takes the reins and that has everybody poised and calm. Yeah, once you're out there playing on your own, on the island or wherever you're at your position, you have to have that same thing. But if you don't have that one guy that says, hey, okay, we need to get organized and get set, then everything's gonna seem chaotic. But Vilma, he was that rock for us in the middle. He would get us lined up. He would get us organized and where we had to be. All we had to know is where's 51. You look to him. He'll tell us to go or no go. He made the check, so we know once we check, we're going to this play. And like you said, from then on, it's muscle memory. I mean, coverage, having your eyes in the right place, having your body position in the right place, and being able to make a play on the ball. But it doesn't work without having that guy in the middle that has everybody aligned and organized.
Yeah, the breeze of the defense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He was our quarterback.
Yeah, so now we fast forward, of course, obviously that's one of the biggest games in the history of the Dome, but, people want to talk about the other game as much. Because think about it. In 4 seasons with the Saints, you had nine interceptions in the regular season. But 2 in the postseason that, again, are probably the most memorable defensive plays maybe in the history of this franchise, and especially a 74-yard pick six in the Super Bowl to salt it away, to basically hand the city of New Orleans something that it's been looking for since the Saints joined the NFL, and it's in your hands. And not to say that you guys wouldn't have won otherwise, but that sealed it. That did it. That put the nail in it.
Yeah.
So one of the other games of the top 10 was Hakeem drops the ball. If you remember, if you go back to that play, you know what we're talking about. St. Louis was, they were probably going to drive down the field. You could feel that momentum going.
Yeah.
Here's Manning and the Colts driving down that field. And then
Manning in the shotgun puts Collie in motion, looks in his direction. It's picked off! It's picked off! It's Tracy Porter again! He's running free! He's going to go all the way! Hands outstretched!
We made his life for that one.
Touchdown! 70 yards on the return! 70 yards on the return by Porter! He did it to Favre, and now he's done it to Manning!
I'm going to tell you what, Tracy Porter knew that route was coming and jumped it, and Peyton Manning threw it right to him.
Jumped in front of Reggie Wayne, took the ball, and took it 70 yards for the score. Wow!
Hey.
Now I saw where you said that was basically just film study and knowing exactly what they were going to run.
Yeah, I mean, football, people try to make it a complicated game, especially like some people who's looking on the outside end, but it's really not. You have to obviously you have to have the physical side to play the sport, but football is 85-90% mental.
Yeah.
So studying, knowing your opponent, knowing what they like to do, what they don't like to do, knowing what they do in certain situations, because football is a situational game depending on where you are on the field, time on the clock, down in distance, all of those things factor in. And to know that we had guys, we were coming with the pressure, so the ball had to come out quick. As a DB, in that instance, you have to believe what you see, and if you see it, you go and make the play. But if you stutter, if you freeze one time, it's a game of inches. You're there from between an interception or a catch tackle. So once you make your read, you have to go right then and there, and don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And trust your guys that are blitzing. Trust the coverage. We were in a coverage where we were blitzing, and as a DB, Jabari and I, Roman, Malcolm, all the guys that were out there, we knew the ball had to come out quick. So we were prepared for a quick pass, and it just so happened they came out in the formation that we recognized. They ran it earlier in the game, but threw the ball to the other side. It was just you couldn't ask for a more perfect situation to say, I'm looking. I'm like, no, I know they're not about to run this play right now. Once I seen Kylie on the outside, I looked. I'm like, it's third and 5, 3rd and 6. No, they're not about to run this play. Lo and behold, that's what they run. And I told myself, once Malcolm and I made the eye contact to switch guys, I told myself, we're not backing up. We're going to stay here. We're going to play it. We're going to play what we see. And what we seen is they run that route combination on 3rd and 5, and he still threw the ball. So I had to make him pay. Not a lot of people know 3 guys involved in that play are from Louisiana. Reggie Wayne, Peyton Manning, and myself.
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy when you think about it.
That's a Bermuda Triangle.
Right.
Well,
You got three
triangle for
Louisiana
them.
guys involved in history right there.
It's so crazy. It's almost at the beginning, I guess, of social media when you start seeing the videos. And that's one of the things that stands out to me that I remember. One of the things every now and then I still love, obviously when the anniversary comes and the Super Bowl comes, it's the videos of people around town.
I love it.
Seeing those plays and that play happen. Because it's no different. John does hoops too as well, right?
Yeah.
The free throw, the game-winning shot for the NBA championship. The quarterback throwing the game-winning touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. You were involved in basically, I know it wasn't the clock ending, but you won the Super Bowl.
Right.
I mean, you brought a team to the Super Bowl with the interception, at least allowing for that kick.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think. I mean, that's what you grow up, right? As a kid, playing in the street or in the backyard, man, picking off passes and stuff. Would you have ever thought that you would have been involved in 2 plays that iconic?
Not at all, because I didn't play football. I didn't like the sport growing up. I was a basketball guy. So I did it. If you would have told me that I was going to be in this situation, I would have laughed. I would have said, nah, man, I'll be in the NBA hitting a game-winning shot or game-winning free throw, not playing football. But, this is the path that was chosen for me, and I decided to max out my potential in this sport to the best of my ability. And being in that situation, after it happened, my initial thought wasn't, oh my God, we won a Super Bowl. My initial thought is, man, we got to go back out here and play defense again. So it didn't hit me, you're celebrating score, but the severity of it, I can't even find the right word, but the magnitude of it didn't hit me when I crossed the goal line. It didn't hit me until we were in the locker room celebrating. So my whole thing was, hey, we got to go back out here, man, and go against Peyton Manning again.
Right.
And they drive down, they get into the red zone, and we make that 4th down play. And then now you can kind of relax because the game isn't technically over, but we have the ball, so we're just going to kneel it out. And once we had him turn it over on downs for the last possession of the game, then you can kind of let your hair down. You can celebrate with the confetti, celebrate with the family. But once I got in the locker room, I'm just looking, guys are celebrating. I'm like, man, we really won the Super Bowl. Like we are world champs. So it started to hit me then once I was in the locker room and we were able to calm down and actually think about it. And man, it was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable experience from the time we got down there the week before on up until the time we left. It was a great experience.
For those of us who have not sprinted 74 yards for a touchdown and had to turn right back around and go back on the field, how fatigued were you?
It was a little bit fatigued. Not gonna lie, because like you said, you just sprinted almost 100 yards, and now you have to turn around. The offense not going back out there. You're going back out there. You were the offense because you turned the ball over. So it was a bit heavy, a bit gas, but we were prepared for it. We prepared all year for it, and we just got back out there and did what we had to do to bring this championship home.
It was interesting to hear you describe just now what that week was like for you guys, because it kind of it was what I talked about on my talk show. I felt y'all were way more relaxed that week than the previous 2 weeks. Everyone in this city, man. I can't even imagine what it was like. So I want to ask you, that NFC Championship game, I mean, that was the dream scenario for Saints fans.
Yes.
Here it is the chance to go to the Super Bowl in our building. I remember listening to Drew and talking to him about it and other players. They felt it. That last drive before the kick,
right?
Drew's throwing wobbly passes. Colson kind of struggled to catch that. They were nervous, man. It was tight. What was that week like knowing? Did you feel, I mean, obviously being from here, you knew, man, like that's the opportunity just to get to the game. I almost felt like it was a sense of relief getting to the game.
It was.
And then you guys just went out and played. No pressure. He's the Hall of Famer. He's the Colts. That's the team, right? I mean,
exactly.
What was that like the week before?
That's why I give the NFC Championship a little bit of a nod over the Super Bowl for us, because here we are presented with it again. Coach Payton, his second time in 3 years of coaching. Yeah. He's in the NFC Championship, and we have the opportunity to get over that hump, that they didn't get over the previous 2 years. So it was a lot of pressure going into that NFC Championship game, but once we won the game, like you said, we didn't let our hair down and say, "Oh, we're going to win this," but we were a bit more. I want to say relaxed, and people think of it in like we weren't worried about the game. It's like, okay, we're here, so now we're the underdog. We already know, so we're playing basically with house money. So we're just going to go out here and play our game and play as hard as we can, and our end goal is to win it. Nobody's giving us a chance. So our end goal is to come home with this Lombardi trophy, and that's what we're going to do.
How much did it mean to win that NFC Championship game in the Superdome? Because it's the most meaningful NFL game that has been won in the Super Bowl. In the Superdome, excuse me.
It means a lot. Just like I was saying earlier, how the Super Bowl trophy and us winning the Super Bowl is not just an award for us as players, but we know it means a lot to the Who Dat Nation. Just like winning at home in front of the Who Dat Nation, like they feel just as much a part of us as we do a part of them, and that's the connection that we've always had as Saints players, and we enjoyed that. And that means a lot. So we not only are we happy for ourselves, but we're happy that we can bring such joy to the people of New Orleans and every Saints fan out there.
All right. I guess there's only one way to really end it.
If you combine his career, regular and postseason, he's 23 of 25. Hartley sends the Saints to the Super Bowl.
Just watching the video,
I think I fell out on the field. Once he went through, I just fell out. And man, I was like, "Thank you, Miami. Here we come." Like, I didn't mean to cut you off, but in that game, like going into overtime, the average game plays that you play on defense is about 55, 60 plays. In that NFC Championship, we played like 90 plays. So we played a game and a half in that game alone. So guys were tired, but guys, we kind of went out and celebrated and this and that. But myself, I was at home sleep. I got home. I said, you know what, I'm gonna come out. We'll celebrate. Yeah. Man, I got home. I said I'm gonna lay in the bed for 5 minutes and then I'm gonna go meet the guys. Didn't happen.
It probably comes from what we were talking about, that emotional. It's tiring, man, dude.
The emotion,
you knew you had to win that
the
game.
Adrenaline.
You knew you had to win that game.
On top of the physical element of the game, like we literally played a game and a half.
It's crazy. You think of the quarterbacks that year you guys faced. Peyton, right?
Hall of Famers.
Brady, Warner early in the playoffs, Favre. When you look back at that year, especially on your side of the ball, it's pretty incredible when you think about it. Let's end on this, man, because obviously you heard that and you heard some of the moments. As you go in there, you're going to be back in there at some point this season here when you get the nod into the Saints Hall of Fame and get recognized in the fans. What was it like to play in that building?
It was magical. That's the best way I can describe it. Just me being from here, being from Louisiana, knowing how Saints fans are about the Saints. And, no disrespect to the Pelicans when they came in, but, it was the Who Dat Nation. Now we're, we have our brothers from the Pelicans that are here with us, but it was an unbelievable experience. Like just to have that career playing in a dome, having that crowd, that noise advantage to where you see opposing offenses, everybody's like they can't hear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They had purple little ear things.
Yeah,
didn't
they guys were. I had friends on other teams. They were like, man, we had to have earplugs when we come to New Orleans. We have to have earplugs, or we have to do silent count, or we have to do something because you literally the linemen. You know how close the linemen are to each other. They can't hear each other when you're in that dome. So the home field advantage that the dome gives us. It's like no other. And I played for a couple of other organizations, and I played in almost every stadium. I had to go back through my career and see which ones I didn't play in, but I don't think any of them has matched the Who Dat Nation and the home field advantage that the crowd brings when they're behind their team.
Well, look, go ahead.
No, I think you said it best. It's magical in there.
Yeah, it is.
I was going to say, look, I grew up here. So I was a Saints fan. I was before I even started working here and covering the team years before that, and covered you when you were here before that, before I joined the organization. We were in the end zone in which you came into for that touchdown for the Super Bowl, and I didn't give a you know what because you're not supposed to cheer whatever. I was yelling like there was no tomorrow. I had tears in my eyes, dude. That moment meant so much to this city and everybody. Like to this day. It's just, I get chills, man. I get chills.
I know guys now, they're young men now, but they said, man, I was a kid. I was in middle school. I was this age, man. I remember you. When you caught that interception, my mom cried, my dad cried, I cried. Even, the kids from then, like it touched so many in the New Orleans area that all I could do is laugh. I'm like, not laugh at them, but like, man, that's crazy. All I did was play football. So to know that you look at me in awe, so to speak, like it's humbling for me.
Well, I thought it was cool. You said, little one?
Yeah, I do. She's one.
Okay. She's going to hear how loud that dome gets because I guarantee you when you show up this year, that reception you're going to get, she might get a little taste. And I think it's going to be pretty cool, man.
I got to get her some noise-canceling headphones.
The Drew Brees earbuds.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, because they're going to play those highlights up on that screen.
Absolutely. And I know the crowd.
It's going to get crazy.
It is, dude.
And that Who Dat chant, I know the Who Dat chant is going to go nuts.
Just remember, there'll be a camera right on your eyes. You're going to tear for us. Saints legend. Super Bowl champion, and now Saints Hall of Famer Tracy Porter.
Man, that sounds great, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. All right, John, time now to welcome in a very, very special guest, Mr. Garrett Hartley, who, again, I got to be honest, I don't know who was more nervous. Was it you, John? Was it me? Was it Garrett? I'll ask him here in a second. All I know is that everyone was just watching and waiting for this to happen.
Here comes the moment Garrett Hartley has always dreamed of. The Saints to the Super Bowl.
John, as you can see by the face of Garrett Hartley there, to welcome him in, it never gets old hearing that, does it, sir?
No, that's I don't hear it as often as what I used to, but I think maybe it certainly resonates a little bit differently than what it used to. Man, not just thinking about that moment, but just thinking about my teammates and, ultimately, obviously, what it meant for the city, in the state of Louisiana, for us to go out and accomplish to just have a chance to win a first Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that was a perfect setup on it, Garrett, by the announcer who says, this is what the moment he's been dreaming of his whole life. Because as a football player, you're always dreaming of, in basketball, it's always that 3, 2, 1, and you shoot the buzzer beater. And as a football player, you're thinking about the game-winning play. Now, often it's not necessarily a walk-off play, but that is a walk-off to go to the Super Bowl. What was that like? Because, obviously I know you explained it a billion times, but, you're in that situation, you're standing on the sideline, and are you thinking, just give me a chance to go out here and win it?
You're right on the money with that. I think almost any kicker, especially at that level, wants the game to come down to them. We're wired a little bit differently, and it's all fun and games. Everybody wants our job during practice, just not on game day. And they would see us doing some maybe light calisthenics or stretching, some 20-ounce curls with the Gatorade bottle on the sideline. But no, in reality, it was just that everything kind of felt like it was going to come down to this. And I was actually so excited. I was kind of pacing until John Carney just told me to have a seat. He said, "Look, you can't control this. All you can do is control the opportunity if it presents itself. So get on the bench and relax."
It is so interesting because we remember that moment. We're going to get into that moment, and it's why it's one of the 10 greatest moments in the Superdome. The journey leading to there, though, right, Hart? I mean, it's like when you start sitting there and thinking, all right, look, you're a high school football player, kicking out in the backyard, like John was saying, we're throwing the game-winning pass and things of that nature. I guess just go through that journey, what it was like to just start to where there you are in that opportunity, even brought in, and brought up John Carney, just for him to be there to mentor that season and all that, just everything, the culmination of that it took to get to that moment. It's pretty surreal when you think about it.
Yeah, no, it is. So I remember, not even in high school, because I only really started playing football in high school. But when I was a little kid, I remember taking like the little like pee-wee footballs, screwing them into the grass on my neighbor's side, aiming at the two trees in mine, and saying, "Hey, this is to win the Super Bowl" type of scenario. In front of like my one or two neighbors that, and just trying to kick the ball between the two trees. So things obviously eventually expanded a little bit through playing in high school for Todd Dodge at South Lake Carroll, and then obviously under Stoops at Oklahoma. Always having those big game kind of moments. And I felt like I was kind of, this sounds really stupid, but I felt like I was kind of bred for this my entire life. I played keeper in soccer, so I couldn't make mistakes as a goalie. Baseball, I was pitcher and catcher, where you had the pressure on you, and then obviously kicking. Um, you know, yeah, there's no, oh, he did okay. It's either you do or you don't. There is no in between.
Yeah, you mentioned John Carney speaking to you, telling you basically settle down and take a seat, and you can't control the thing. Did any other teammates say anything to you, or did they avoid you like a no hitter?
Yeah, the no, they didn't say anything to me. I remember John was telling me after, because Peyton kind of pulled me aside right before all that, and I remember hearing from Carney afterwards. He was just kind of like, "Oh gosh, no, just leave him alone." But I was kind of just so fixated on what I needed to do. The only thing I really remembered Sean telling me walking out, on the field was, "This is why, son, you deserve to be here." All the other stuff was kind of just like, uh-huh, uh-huh. I mean, I maybe the Florida, like hitting the Florida Lee or aiming, looking at, between the uprights at the Florida Lee. I probably maybe missed it by about an inch or two. It was pretty straight though. Uh, but hey, did y'all ever play baseball when y'all were growing up?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So were y'all fortunate enough to hit a home run?
Once.
Okay. Well, that's all it takes. But that
Right.
feeling when
You
that
feel
ball
it,
comes
yep.
off the bat, you don't feel it. So in kicking, like when you flush one, it's kind of the same principle. You don't really feel it come off your foot. The contact was that good. Um, and the second I know that, yeah, that ball came off my foot, man, I didn't even watch it go between the uprights. I just turned to, Burnell, and I said, we're heading to Miami.
Wow.
Hey, Garrett, for you, how long was the silence? Because, it's one of those moments where I guess everything kind of goes deaf. And then after you make the kick, maybe everything chimes back in. But how long was the silence for you? Because I know you said Coach Payton was in your ear, obviously, and you were kind of, yeah. But how long was it like you just zoned out and it was only about the kick?
Right. Honestly, from the second I started walking, even on the sideline before up there, I was trying to remember if there was like a timeout called. I would have to go back, but just kind of walking out onto the field, you kind of take a deep breath, but it really resonated with me hard when Sean said, "This is why, son, you deserve to be here." So that everything else was kind of like a blur. I don't really, I had two thoughts in my head before the kick. I had a pretty good track record in the NFL going up to that point. I think my first miss was 58 yards. Now, we did have an opportunity a couple weeks, which I know they love to re-show, during that, about when I missed that kick versus Tampa, the short one, and I rushed it. So timing is everything, kicking. And, if you rush it, I'm going to have a tendency to pull that ball. So I was just like tempo and drive through my target line. And but it happens so fast. Most people don't realize your snap to hold get off is less than 1.3 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, did you notice Tracy's interception? And if you did you mentally say, okay, here's a chance for me, or here's a chance for us, or what went through your
Oh,
mind on,
yeah.
on the interception?
No, I felt like everything was falling into place. Between Porter's pick, Pierre, what was it, fourth and whatever, going over the top. I mean, that is a gut call right there. Imagine giving the ball in that placement. I don't think Favre would have made the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy in talking not only to Tracy, but so many players, during Sean's era and especially the 2009 season. You mentioned it here at the very beginning, Garrett, just what Sean told you. You were meant to sort of be here. I feel every player that season was comfortable, confident. They knew the purpose. It was almost like a mission, almost. So while we were nervous and everything, it almost seemed like you guys weren't surprised y'all started out with 13-0. It wasn't surprised you beat the Patriots. It wasn't surprised that you came back and won in Washington. It wasn't surprised that you made the kick. It was almost like everything you guys had done that season starting in training camp had led to that, right? It was like, this is what we've been doing. It was just, it comes off when we talk to other players on that team where it was like, no, of course we're supposed to do it. We knew we were going to do it. That's hard to get to that point, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of other things that, Sean kind of explained that to us at maybe the start of the season, there's maybe only 10 teams that have a realistic shot to win. And maybe two of those teams are outliners that need a lot of things to go their way. We might have been one of those teams, but the stars just seemed to, everyone felt it, especially as we started compounding wins throughout the season. Get kind of maybe win some games that we shouldn't have won. And that's a good question. But I guess just everything kind of it sounds very cliche, but the stars aligning, so to speak. We all felt it. We started to really embrace it as a brotherhood inside the locker room, and obviously the play that we dictated on Sundays.
Hey, Garrett, now you began your NFL career by setting a record. You made your first 16 field goals. That's since been surpassed, but that was an NFL record. You made your first 16 kicks. But that season, which was an abbreviated one for you, you did not make a kick beyond 40 yards during the regular season. And then you get to the playoffs and you make 5 of them. So when you're in that situation, was it one of those things where you just, did you have any doubt at all? I mean, I guess you can't have any doubt in those situations, but did you have any doubt at all?
No, I mean the confidence was good. It was people. I think with a kicker's relationship, it's kind of like a love-hate thing. Um, if not too many people were all excited about after the Tampa kick, but keep in mind that was my first miss as a pro inside of 58 yards.
Yeah.
And the one I did miss at 58 yards up in Washington, I think it was about 30 degrees, maybe a little colder. And I hit a little fat like a 9-iron. I mean, I hit it well, just a little heavy. And in that kind of atmosphere, it wasn't going to get there. So my confidence was pretty good. There was some guys that, talked to me. And I remember John, coming over after that game. I think he showed up to my apartment with the Domino's pizza and a 6-pack. And keep in mind, John doesn't really drink at all. So I think he drank 1 or 2 beers just to stop me drinking all 6. But it was it just kind of felt like I knew I was there. John's kind of sat me down and just said, "Look, you're going to have bigger kicks this season, so just lock in and just keep doing what you've been doing."
Okay, now first, what kind of pizza? Not pineapple, huh?
No. This is probably standard. I want to say it was pepperoni or meat lovers or something along those lines.
Now, speaking of bigger kicks, you go to the Super Bowl and you become the first kicker in NFL history to make 3 40-yard field goals in the Super Bowl. That kick in the NFC Championship game. How much confidence did it give you going into that situation?
Yeah, once again, I think things just kind of carried over. You're not trying to route, like ride the wave, so to speak. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, you got to view yourself like a weapon for your team. Any opportunity, once we cross the 50, that I'm gonna help. I'm gonna put up points for my team, and that was my mindset. So it doesn't matter if it's a 50-yard field goal or even the old school extra point. The swing was the same. It was never an issue with distance with me, from really inside of 60 yards, other than that one kick in, sub 30-degree temperatures. So it just trying to keep things smooth, and you get into that rhythm. You trust. We had honestly one of the best snappers of all time, in my opinion, with Jason Kyle. It just the things that he could do, and a lot of people, that is something that is very undervalued, in my opinion, from a fan's perspective, is how good that snapper is. Um, and with Brunell, just I mean, hey, he's going to put it down exactly where it needs to be. Trust it, and then you just go through your motions, and something that you've been doing for tens of thousands of reps over the last 15 years of your life. There you go. And I got lucky that they just happened to go between the pipes.
I got to circle back here because I've buried my lead. NFC Championship game. When you make the kick, what do you remember about the Superdome? What do you remember about the crowd and the reaction?
So there was a thing, I guess, before the game where I forgot the announcer's name, but he would pick the X factor.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Chris. I can't really remember, but I remember I was picked as the X factor for that game for whatever reason. So, and maybe I was just protecting myself because those, there's a little bit of weight with the guys on the team, right? So when the dog pile came on, I'm just like trying to just protect my chest, and I'm laughing at the same time. So my arms are like folded up. And then eventually, I think Remy, and then was it maybe, I think Jeff Charleston, that they ended up putting me up on their shoulders. But that scenario, I mean, it happened so fast. I wouldn't say it was like a blackout moment, but just I could feel what the emotions were right now. What are we at now? 15? I mean, God, yeah, it's
16, 16 years? Yeah.
16 years later coming up. It's I know I just turned 39. I was 23 when that happened.
Wow. How loud was it? Because I can remember specifically two loud moments in the Superdome, obviously. The reopening, of course, and that kick. I mean, because that kick sends this team, which had never had that level of success, to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I probably am not the right person to tell you. I was just right in the middle of it. And so it was just kind of like a buzzing roar that was constant. But I do remember the only time I've really heard the dome that quiet was when we might be in there for practice and I'm just in there kicking by myself. It was like an eerie silence. But yeah, that roar afterwards, maybe that's still why I have tinnitus and yeah, I don't know.
See, that's an educated fan base there, Garrett. They know to shut up and let you concentrate.
Well, I'll add to this as a local, Garrett, is because no one could breathe. All right, that's why it was so quiet, because that's kind of why I want to go into the X along the lines of what he's saying. In today's world, obviously where we are now in 2025, viral, right? You know that term, and things go viral, and people replay it and see of that nature. We're just starting to get into that era where people had phones and everything. And as an athlete, you always want to be part of a moment, right? As you say, when you're practicing kicking as a kid, it's 3, 2, 1, game winner. And you think of that. To be able to be a part of a moment that will never be forgotten, because, again, as a local, we would just daydream, hey, we'd just like to play in a playoff game. Hey, could you imagine being in the dome with either the game-winning kick or the game-winning pass to go to the Super Bowl and be there and experience it? And here we are, and you did it. And one of the coolest things was after that kick, And even now you can sort of see the grainy, cell phone footage of people in the dome. And it's to your point, it's completely quiet. And you kick it, and the place goes nuts, and people in the terrace, you see them, everything. But have you ever had a chance to look at cell phone footage or just things like that from around town, people popping fireworks around the city? I mean, it was a celebration that night. Driving home, people were still outside, like they didn't know what to do. I don't know if you had any experiences like that.
No, that was obviously the first of its kind for me on that level, for sure. So, I love when people literally will come up to me to this day and tell me exactly where they were when we were playing in the NFC Championship, and what they did. And they also said that I made their dad cry,
Wow.
or I made them cry.
Garrett, are the drinks still free?
But I definitely don't drink like I used to. I'm actually kind of I've transferred more, but yeah, I would say a lot of times still getting a free drink here and there, but maybe just kind of, I don't know, share the love. And they might buy me one, and then maybe I'll pick up the tab for their table. I'm not saying I do that every time, but
No, I was going to suggest if you see Garrett out there, folks, buy him lunch. It goes like that, but that's still kind of cool. Like that's the point, right? I mean, that's one of the uniqueness. I mean, look, we have the Steelers. We have a lot of, teams in the league that have a huge history, but that's one of the unique things I think of the Saints and its fan base. It is you're kind of one of them, right? I mean, you mentioned obviously where you are here at the start of this here locally, and you still live here, but when you're a player in this team, right, Garrett? I mean, you're one of us, man, and we go through it. And when you bring smiles to people's faces, you know what it's like on a Monday when the Saints win, and on a Monday when the Saints lose in the city. I mean, people are happier. You know what that is.
Right. Yeah. Especially if I had any part to do with the way, But yeah, it was, this fan base is down here is something that's just second to none. It truly is. Um, you know, I hate thinking about, but what if, you could have, what if things didn't work out? Obviously I don't think I would still be down here in New Orleans. But it, everything just happened the way it should, that season for everyone on the team. And, just truly blessed to be a part of it.
I got to ask you, do you treat, see, I'm like this about the movie, The Godfather. Whatever time of day it's on, whatever channel it's on, whatever I'm doing, if it's on and I'm just kind of fishing around, if I see it, I stop and watch the whole thing. Do you do that with the replay of this game? Like if it's randomly just showing somewhere, do you just stop and say, you know what, I got to watch this whole thing?
No, I think sometimes, I really, I don't watch the NFL Network a whole lot other than, maybe during the season on the Red Zone channel. But it, yeah, I'm never really been that guy to go home and watch like ESPN a whole lot, like after work, I guess, or especially like when I was playing. Really, I just wanted to kind of unwind a little bit, so maybe I would be watching like the hunting channel or the sportsman's channel. It kind of led to when I, a good buddy of mine, we had that hunting show for 3 years on the sportsman's channel, so that was kind of the way I would decompress. So everyone's a little bit different. But yeah, occasionally my buddies or friends will still text me, "Hey, it's on," or I maybe I don't even know the number. "Hey, the NFC Championship's on the NFL Network and replayed right now."
Yeah, if that was me, I'd be flipping in a heartbeat. I'd be like, "Okay, got it."
Dude, it's crazy because along the lines, I still get a little. I know what happens. I know you make the kick, but it's still, I still look at that drive, and I remember hearing Drew, that spiral's a little wobbly. Marcus Colston, that ball didn't get caught cleanly. It was so crazy that last drive, because I guess that's my final question to you is, I remember doing a talk show at the time, Garrett, and we all felt it, and all the callers were, right? And it's curious because when we asked players previously on that team, they felt it as well, man. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're at the store, whatever. Everyone saying you have to win this game. I mean, here it is. Like, this is the opportunity. This is it. Did you feel, quote unquote, the weight of that week heading into the game?
No, not per se. I was just actually, I know we're on the air, but yeah, they kind of did all this stuff out here, but
Awesome.
still have the shoes actually. And then there's the ball. Yeah, that one's not leaving the trophy case.
It's not going to be paraded around town. That's awesome.
Did you end up having to send something to the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Nope.
Because usually, they will kind of confiscate some historical things.
Yeah, but if you have a good equipment guy,
The old witch room.
and rest his soul, Chief.
Yeah.
We had a different relationship after that night. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Chief was a good guy. Good guy.
I love that.
Garrett, and I'll get out here on this. How pressurized was the life, or is the life, of an NFL kicker? Because everybody feels like they can do it. Just random people on the street. Oh, he should make them. He should make a 55-yard. Why would he miss that? But I don't know if people get the gravity of the pressure that goes along with that, and having to and expect it to be that accurate, all the time.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll do these. I guess people have their big conferences downtown, and they'll rent out the Superdome. The last one I was there, we literally had a field goal kicking, so anyone could come up there and try to kick maybe like a 25-yard field goal, just to kind of get, and it is like, to me, it's comical. But it gives them a perspective. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. You look at the percentages from the best golfers in the world on how close from 100 yards that they'll throw that ball to a pin. And most people think, oh, for a pro, it should be a chip shot. Well, it should be, yes. But there's a lot of factors that go into, snap, hold, protection, weather, wind, a lot of different parameters, right? So, it's funny to hear, oh, he should have made it. And, sitting back, especially now, if I'm like around people and they don't know what I used to do, because I blend in pretty well, outside of maybe the city, but I love hearing their take on what, the backseat driver, so to speak, thinks it should be a chip shot.
I love it. Garrett's is hanging out somewhere. He should have made that. And he just pulls out his phone. Yeah, try this. Is that kind of why you like golf as much as you want? It was interesting as I'm hearing you say that. When I think of that sport, and obviously as the major championships are going on here during the summer, as we record this, Garrett, that's a sport where it's by the stroke, it's by the hole, it's a very mental, by yourself sort of thing. Maybe your caddy sort of helps you, but it's you locking in, and it's every shot, and it's 4 days. Like, to do those things, like the fact that you play golf and you watch these guys win these major championships, I've always thought it's probably one of the hardest things to do, over 4 days to play and be first. Is that something that you can relate to, that you actually enjoy, and maybe that's kind of why you gravitate towards it?
Yeah, I feel like, just now that I had to retire early. Obviously, I've had 2 neck surgeries, so a lot of people don't know that, and that's why I had to give it up and, stop chasing my dream, especially after the second one. I called it quits just for quality of life, but I'm still blessed and fortunate I could go out and play golf. It gives me a way that I could sit there and I could compete. I obviously be around, my friends, but at the same time compete with myself, because there's nothing like having that pressure, whether you got to find the fairway or, you got to make that putt. Even, you could talk to any golfer. Let's talk about like a 3 to 5 foot putt, which, you should be 90%, if not higher, making. But, when the game's on the line, like, so that pressure I used from kicking, I felt like kind of carries over and in the golf, and just, it gives me something else to be competitive in. And I actually have a lesson up here at 10 o'clock. I'm going to go try to fix I just got a new driver, trying to figure it out, but it's, the cross correlation with that is, like you said, right to a T.
Final thing for you, man. We'll get you out of here. And again, thank you for your time. Just closing thoughts as we celebrate the Dome as the home for the last 50 years for the team. When you close your eyes, man, sights, smells, is it the popcorn? Is it the echoes? Like, when you think of the Caesars Superdome, what do you think of?
I don't know if it's just one thought. I feel now that, I've been out for such, since really 2015, so 10 years. I feel a peace when I'm back in there, of something that, I didn't miss everything from the NFL. I'm not going to lie, but I missed my teammates and I missed the atmosphere of the Superdome. It was one of a kind. These fans are truly just amazing. And now, my love for the city, and its fan base, will never go away.
Yeah, I got a word for that, Garrett. Home.
Home. Yeah. Yeah. It's home.
On that note, man, thank you again for your time. New Orleanian, Garrett Hartley. Thank you so much, bud.
All right. Appreciate it.
John, our thanks to Tracy and our thanks to Garrett. I love interviews like that because, especially as time goes by, they feel the perspective. They see it there as well. But as you notice, I'm an audio guy here. You love your words. I love my sound. And I purposely played those highlights for them while we were interviewing them to see what reaction you get. And they still remember, they still feel it, and it still touches them. You could see it, right? I mean, Tracy, to talk about the two games back to back from that in the Super Bowl and what it meant. And then Garrett, it's incredible when you think about those two players not only making massive moments in the NFC Championship game, but they made massive moments in the Super Bowl to help you win. I mean, those two guys, for me, will always be tied together because both of them Saints don't win the Super Bowl without him making those 40-yard field goals, 3 of them. Yeah. Saints don't win the Super Bowl if Tracy Porter probably does the pick 6. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy when you think about what those two guys did in 2 straight games.
Well, that's 16 points those two guys combined for in the Super Bowl. 16. And you win 31-17. So do the math. And again, not huge names on the roster. You're talking about, a young cornerback and a kicker. And in those situations, if you're thinking about the Saints, you're thinking about Drew Brees and Marcus Colston. You're thinking about, John Vilma. You're thinking about, Will Smith. You're thinking about the bigger names on the roster. But those two guys, it's a team game. And you can't really individualize everything because, you need all working parts to make things go. But those two guys, when it was time for their time to shine, they shone brightly.
As we wrap up, I think the one thing that really stood out to me as well is they both realized that connection that separates it and it immortalizes, them and also those plays with everything. You heard Garrett say, hey, people come up to me, you made my dad cry, you made me cry. Tracy's same thing. I mean, the viral videos, they were grainy back then and not as clear now, but the pick 6 and the places going nuts around town, both instances after the game, people throwing fireworks and just going outside and celebrating. Their plays help set a timeline in people's lives in the city that not only they will never forget, but it's almost like you go back to it, right? I mean, I'm 50, and there's Katrina, and it's when the Saints won the Super Bowl. I mean, there's 2 dates in time that, to me, affected and changed the city one way, shape, or form that people talk about as almost a starting or an end point of something. And as an athlete and what we do and cover athletes, I don't think you can ask for anything more than that. And a lot of times, some of those moments, John, you don't ask for them. It just happens. They don't know that that's going to be like that or things of that nature. And as Garrett said, what if you miss? I mean, you got the Scott Norwood, on the other side. You got the guy that gives up the game-winning touchdown pass. But they're always going to be remembered in people's lives. And I think that's got to be something pretty unique, for them to always have.
A lot of things in sports fade into obscurity, stats and
sports almanac stuff, yeah.
But the one thing that never fades, that can never be taken from you, is you're a champion. And those two guys helped this franchise become a championship franchise. Now, they're still seeking another one, but the first one you never forget. and you never forget the people who were pivotal in helping you attain that first one.
Our thanks to Garrett Hartley and Tracy Porter, who you will see this season as he gets inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame. And I know he said he can't wait to get back on the field and hear the roar one last time of the Superdome. We thank you for joining us as we celebrate 50 years in the Superdome by your New Orleans Saints as it's home. Mr. John DeShazer, NewOrleansSaints.com. Gus Cattingill with you. You've been listening to Home Sweet Home, a New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Caesars New Orleans. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Home Sweet Home, a New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Caesars New Orleans.
Favre sprints to his right, throws back across the middle, and he's intercepted. Porter.
For the latest on the black and gold, check out NewOrleansSaints.com. And be sure to check out the New Orleans Saints podcast for the latest news from your favorite team.
Will he get it here? Yes! Touchdown pass, 5-4-0 in the 504.
We'll catch you next time on Home Sweet Home.